Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Watcher of Realms. Today I'm going to be taking you through Gear Dungeon 2 Stage 4 and showing you the particular team that I use to farm that. This is my second time attempting to record the video. My power decided it would be a fantastic time to bump off when I was showcasing it last time, so let's go ahead. Let's hop in here and see what we're working with. Now, I was heavily inspired by Banana Luck Watcher of Realms on YouTube. He also had a guide on this particular stage, so you'll see a little bit of overlap there. Just wanted to give credit where credit is due. This is a 100% free-to-play composition, of course. I've not spent a single cent on the game, so every single champion on my account is technically free-to-play, but even still with the champion picks I chose, I tried to make it as low-spend or as free-to-play as possible, and we'll also still talk about substitutions. Why is Stage 4 so important? Well, Stage 4 is important because you can start to get yourself these unidentified weapons. So you can get yourself the random ancients, and then you can get yourself the unidentified weapons as well to really just help boost the quality of gear that you're getting out of this dungeon. Now, this is the team here. For the astute observers among you, you might notice that I have champions like Gon and Pharisee, Hex. And obviously, I don't expect you guys to have all of these champions, so we'll talk about potential substitutions, and these will make more sense, excuse me, once you actually see the roles that these champions or these heroes are participating in battle. So the first champion that we can substitute is, of course, going to be Gon. You essentially just want somebody who can block up the pathway and take a lot of enemies under his wing and just say, hey, you're not getting past me. So somebody like Brokir, obviously, if you have Baron laying around, he's going to be a perfect option. Trusk, just any sort of a tanky champion. Additionally, depending on what you're going for, you can potentially just bring a fighter into this. So like a Valeria or, you know, a Hex or something, not a Hex, rather a, somebody like a, oh my god, I cannot remember his name apparently. Somebody like an Arrogance could also work. However, where he's being placed specifically, the enemies are pretty much impervious to magic damage for the most part, so that he's not necessarily going to do but the most if it's, you know, some sort of a champion like that. Again, just any sort of a champion that can slow them down. To substitute your Pharisee, you have a lot of options available to you. So for example, if you want to use the Hollow in this position instead, you can without issue. If you have somebody like a Vortex, that also works perfectly fine. Basically just anybody with that range in front of them to get the heals out there. I believe even somebody like a where is the champion here? The other free-to-play capable fusion, so this guy right here. I do believe that a Lightlock would work for this as well. However, I'm using Pharisee because he's who I happen to have on the account. The rest of these champions are pretty available. If you have not pulled Hex yet, you can use Lunaria, who is currently just my Lord in there, as your damage dealer. Ideally, you want some sort of a marksman that's doing magic damage, but you could probably also get away with a mage if you're really hard-pressed for it, but that's just who I came up with. The rest of these champions should be pretty much available to anyone. Let's go ahead, let's hop in here and see what we're working with. So, excuse me, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to place Wrath down here, and we're going to place Abomination here facing like this. And then additionally, Hollow's going to go essentially right between the two, because then she's going to have capabilities to heal every single spot where you could be placing heroes. We're going to wait for Wrath to go ahead and kill this enemy here. We're also going to get our Volca out in this particular slot. As soon as that enemy's dead, we can go ahead and recall Wrath, and then we're going to buy an Olog for this position. If you have a Baron, any sort of a champion like that, they'll work in this spot as well. Next up, you're going to go ahead and place Pharisee here for the heals. And again, you essentially just want a champion that can be positioned here, but also heal to this slot over here is essentially what you need. Now in that slot, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop in a Hex. Hex is going to be the magic damage dealing champion that's essentially just going to go ahead and be able to take care of the boss all on his own there, so the mini boss. And as soon as we have 19 cost available, we're going to go ahead and place Gon in this position here. And of course, it is a little bit easier even if you have somebody like a Baron or something like that who's lower cost, because you can place them that one cost sooner, right? So absolutely fantastic stuff here. So far, I do have Power of Dominance on, and that's essentially just to remove the pucker factor while I'm running through this for a video. I beat this in one try once I figured out the placements with Power of Dominance off, obviously, because it was my first time beating it. So I'm very confident that anybody else who's doing this will be able to as well. Now, we're essentially just going to be able to let it run for the most part. You don't even necessarily have to pop ults with this composition, apart from Maul. Sometimes there will be enemies coming from the top lane here who get pretty close to Abomination, but they don't quite make it. Now, Abomination, with his stuns, and his long reach and his burns and all those sorts of things is an absolutely fantastic champion for this. Or hero, rather. I always get confused between the two. We're going to go ahead and pop Gon here, just so that he does a little bit more damage. Hex is still just doing his thing, chipping down the boss over there. And as you can see, Olog has literally no issues handling the enemies that are thrown his way. Now, these will be the toughest waves you have to deal with the 8 guys just kind of marching down here. And the reason for that is, obviously, Abomination can't block them all on his own. So if they reach the line, they're going to just walk right through. So sometimes you will have to trigger Maul here to essentially get the freezes, to get the slowdowns, all that sort of good stuff. But as you can see, it looks like Abomination is going to be able to deal with it perfectly fine on his own. Now, of course, if you didn't have Power of Dominance on there, it's very possible that you would have had to have deployed Maul's ultimate as well. But you'll still get through it perfectly fine. Once this enemy comes within range of Hex, we'll go ahead and pop his ult as well. Hex is a bit of an interesting one for me because he does good damage, of course, but I don't have any sort of rage regen really built excuse me, on him. So once his ult goes down, it's staying down for quite some time. We'll also pop Hollow's ult here, essentially just help get everybody healed up nice and full there. We are probably going to pop Maul on this next wave here, so I can kind of show you how useful he is. And as you can see with this particular placement, he's very strong because he's going to get damage over here where Gon is as well, which is also why you don't want them to be placed up here per se, because if Gon was up here, then obviously Maul can't crossfire with them. But also during his ult, which has the 900% AoE damage and knocking them back, he's going to be able to ult all the way over to here, right? So he can provide so much support, even for the opposite lane, that he's just so incredibly strong. And then you can see he can also reach up here and start killing champions as well. We won't even have to pop Maul's ult. That's just how good he is. We clear them out before they even get close to Abomination. And again, let me stress that I do not have insane gear on any of these champions. Like, this is just regular kind of, you know, late game gear that you would see. So nothing too crazy. One thing to call out as well, these little like wisps here, I think they're called, excuse me, banshees. Once you get to stage 5 of the gear dungeon, so you'll see they die here, and then they kind of go into like the unyielding phase, and they're going to do AoE damage to everybody around them. As of stage 5, once they finish this phase, they then go ahead and deal fatal damage to everybody around them. So somebody like a Gon is not going to work in that particular case. You will definitely have to start bringing in the Baron or something like that. And once that happens, I would recommend building your Volca out with a lot more damage stats on her, because I don't have any damage stats on her myself. We're going to go ahead and pop them all here just to get them slowed down a little bit. Volca is basically just built out inside like whatever trashy invigoration set that I could find, and that's simply just so that I can place her down on my arrogance inside the guild boss and then get the bonus to his damage there. But invigoration is a hard set to come by because I don't farm guild raid 2 a whole lot, or gear raid I should say, not guild raid 2. So I definitely don't have as many pieces of it as I should, and then earlier on in the game I didn't realize how good it was, so I sold a lot of it that I probably shouldn't have as well. So these are the last guys to fight here. We're going to go ahead and pop Maul's ultimate as well, just to finish him off. There we go, just like that. We're done, we're dusted, it's easy to go. And we did get some gear drops there as well. Excuse me. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at the gear. This is all just trash. It isn't flagged. I had my sell files set up and all that sort of good stuff. So if it's not tagged as good gear, it's not good gear. So let's go ahead and take a look at the heroes, and let's take a look at how they're built. So Lunaria, as you can see, she actually has no gear on her apart from like just one random ancient ring on there, which is kind of whatever. Hex does have some decent gear. He is in a Soulbound Arcana set. However, as you can see, the stats on him are certainly nothing too crazy. I don't have him crit capped or anything like that. This piece is what's really holding me back right here, because as you can see, he's at 601 speed, and I don't need that much speed on him. So ideally, I'd like to trade this out for like an attack percentage, and then switch one of these for like a crit damage or something like that, especially this one considering it's not ancient yet. Like, these substats are pretty shoddy, right? Like, no rage regen, so just getting him built out a little bit better would service my account a lot more. And then of course this does help to make it a little bit more free-to-play friendly for everybody who's trying to replicate this, so that's always good. Olog, we kind of just have some basic builds on him. Triple HP bonus, which is going to bring us up to a total stats looking like this: 80k, 4600 defense, attack speed, and all that stuff doesn't really matter with Olog. You essentially just want him to survive, and that's really about it. Fair C, so again, go for a build like this if you're using a Vortex instead. Fair C is built out primarily used for Guild Boss 2, so kind of keep that in mind. And he certainly doesn't have very good gear either, right? So just kind of triple attack bonus there. You can without question do better. I was essentially just trying to get very, very high attack on him because I do sometimes use him for his inspiration effect so that my other heroes can essentially do more damage. Gon is an interesting champion. He is built out inside a Glacier set, which, you know, it is what it is, I suppose. He doesn't do attack-based damage, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for him to be. He has triple 8 defense bonus there, excuse me, with some rage regen, as well as crit rate and attack speed is what we're looking for primarily as the substats. This is kind of what he's looking at right here. So we got 13,000 on the defense, so he can do some very decent damage. Only 58% crit rate though, so that's nothing too crazy. Again, a very not good build, right? So you can easily replicate this. Roth is essentially in just, you know, kind of whatever tier like 3 gear I could find for him. So when I say tier 3 gear, I don't mean like, you know, how it says tier 1 here or whatever. I mean essentially just like the 3rd tier of how good the gear is on my account. So for example, my tier 1 gear always goes to Silas first because he's my most important champion and I want him built as best as possible. So you can certainly replicate this build here, I would say, with the Roth quite easily. So he only has 37k HP, 15,000 attack, 109 crit rate. We got a decent amount of attack speed on him though at 252. If I were to tweak it, I would say probably a bit more attack speed would be nice. Now Volca, like I mentioned, she is just inside an invigoration set, so she doesn't have anything too crazy here. 33k, 9.8k. She has decent attack speed at 255. Would like it a little bit faster. She has good crit damage, but no crit rate, unfortunately. We have Abomination again. He is A5, which certainly does help out. I was lucky enough to pull 5 of him, so that by the time I got him A5, the A5 was just me completing my fusion. I would certainly have liked to have gotten some other legendaries, but Moonton was just like, nope, you're going to pull all of these versions of Abomination. So these are kind of how his stats are looking. 19k on the attack, 1.9 on the attack interval. Again, probably a bit better if that's faster, and then better if we have more crit rate on him as well. Fantastic champion though. You're going to use him a lot of areas in the game, so don't feel bad about building him out. As you can see, on Maul, we're all the way down to like ancient legendary gear. So again, these champion builds are just not what they could be if I had farmed more. So we have 12k on the attack. That's really all you're worried about, is just, you know, a lot of attack. You can put a little bit of rage regen on him as well. As you can see, I have 17% and he's still cycling perfectly fine. Hollow certainly helps with the champion cycling that are within inside her range as well. Decent attack speed, 298, and a 99% crit rate there as well. And finally, for the next build, if it'll let me go back here, we are taking a look at Hollow, who is probably one of the better builds in terms of like just, you know, gear strength on my account. No set on her yet, unfortunately. Defense bonus main stat. The reason for this is I just wanted a bit more survivability out of her. I wanted the attack speed substat on it, and then I didn't want attack main stat because that would make her a stronger healer, which means that she wouldn't heal as often, which if you know anything about Hollow, you want her healing a lot, but not for much, if that makes sense. So you want her just throwing out those heals, but you don't want the heals to be doing a whole lot. We have attack speed on the amulet with some good rage regen there as well. And then we have rage regen on the ring. So you could definitely make do with switching these out for attack main stats if you just need more healing. For my particular account though, everybody is tanky enough to stay alive without issue underneath Hollow. These are how the entire stats are looking here. So 9,700 on the attack still. You're kind of looking for up to 10k would be the sweet spot there. Excuse me. 577 on the attack speed as well brings us down to a 1.4 second interval, and then we do have 84% rage regen as well. If I were to tweak this build a little bit, I would say go for that 100% rage regen. As you can see though, this is the team, this is the composition, and that's how it works inside the battle. So this is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be farming a lot more of this stage myself. If there's anywhere you guys are struggling inside the game and you want to see some content helping out with that, definitely feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts on who you used instead of some of these champions, because again, not everybody's going to have Gon or Hex or those sorts of things. So let me know which team works the best for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.